hearts of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I have today. Times gone by, I've traded black dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 1100. This is 1100 WSG. I'm Utah LaVern, and yes, this is one street over. What's going on, y'all? One street over from where you're living. We are living right because we get to work and live in Robertson County, in the words of our Mayor Billy Vogel. And Bill Jones is in the house with me. I'm telling you, Bill, I'm so ready to get back to school. And
Well, I'm ready to get back to normal,
oh my goodness.
just to be able to drive to town.
I am one of these people. I have to have structure. I need it so desperately that we had 2 weeks off, and I got a lot done, but I didn't get nearly done what I could have because I couldn't. And I heard this from so many people.
Yeah,
It's like I can't get motivated. I can't get motivated.
I know the feeling. Same way.
And it's
Oh,
like,
same thing.
what in the world? Because we had all this secluded, and I did. I got a lot done, and some real important things done. But I'm sitting here thinking from my writing perspective, I have desired to have like a sabbatical, just to kind of sit down and write and do all that. I could have done that. I didn't do it.
It takes quiet time.
Yeah.
Instead of anything going on. For me, anyway, I have to sit down, get calmed down, and
Right.
get my mind in the flow that I want to think before I can do that.
And so, I need the structure, and I think I will do so much better. My husband and I got up and walked this morning, even though schools are on a 2-hour delay, and everybody's like, why? Trust me, I've got ice in my driveway that if you're not careful, you will fall and bust it. And there's a lot of shaded areas on some of these back roads. They're still treacherous, and so it's at the driver's discretion. If you live on an area that's still got some rough ice in some shaded areas, your bus driver might not be there.
Let me ask you something. I think I heard on television in Davidson County they're going to stagger school times in the morning when they go to school. One is 8 o'clock and one's 9 o'clock. And
We do that here.
You do that? Okay.
Yeah, we do that
how
here.
How do
So-
parents who work and got to take their children to school, how do they do that?
You have to work with. They have pre-care and aftercare and things like that
Yeah.
that they'll establish. You have to. That's one of the things I talk about, how that it's such a blessing, because my I would love for my kids to live here, but my son that has the 3 children, they live out with his mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they have this wonderful support system to help him with the kids.
Okay.
I never had that, because it was just my husband and I. So if you lean into your support system, and if you don't have it, unfortunately, you have to hire it or you have to adjust your hours. That's one thing. Employers nowadays, they understand the demands of a family, and they will help you to adjust hours and things like that too. But now when it comes to teachers, from our perspective, I've seen kiddos be with their, maybe they'll get dropped off at school, from an elementary school.
Yeah.
Say, because our elementaries start earlier than our high schools. Just like Mark, picks
What
up
time
a
does
route.
high school start?
That varies. Springfield starts at 8:30. Springfield starts pretty much at 8:30.
Why would it vary?
Well, because of the staggered, because you have to have the logistics of getting the kids there on the buses. Mark, he teaches, but again, he decided to take on a bus route because he knows how shorthanded they are. It brings great chaos to his day doing the bus routes because he doesn't have his planning time and all that. So he's trying to get all that, but he just knows they've got to have drivers. And so he picks up a middle school route for Coopertown that starts at 5:45. And then their start time, I'm wanting to say, is something like 7:00 that he has them there. Yeah. And they start at 7. Well, then Springfield starts, their bells ring about 8:20. I think. And then classes officially start about 8:30, I think, somewhere in there. Greenbrier, we start at 8. But see, because when I first started looking at teaching, I looked at Springfield because I don't want to give up my radio show. I like doing this. I like doing this because I love radio. And so I don't want to give this up. And so I was looking at the school that would allow me to be able to still do this and I wouldn't be late for work. Well, so I was applying to Springfield to be an English language learner teacher because I had worked in ESL in the ministry and stuff. And so I'd worked with a lot of newcomers and immigrants and migrants and different things like that. And so that's what I was going to do, but I was going to go back to school to do it. And right after I'd applied for that job at Springfield, I get a call from Dr. Osborne from Greenbrier saying, we have a different idea. And they wanted me to do the audio video program and bring that in. But I told her, I said, well, I do a radio show until 8. She says, well, we'll give you first block planning. And so your day will, when you get here at 8:30, and then I stay typically until 3:30. Now, sometimes I can't because I have an appointment or something, but there'll be at least a couple of days a week I'm there until 5, But I get those hours in, somehow, at different
You got a long day between this show and school.
My husband starts his day. He picks up his first kids at 5:45. And he doesn't pull in and finish until nearly 5 o'clock. So he has a long day. But it moves. But we thrive. And I don't know how long we can do this. But our plan is to do it into our 70s, because we'll be, if he goes until he is 75, he'll have 20 years in it at Robertson County Schools. And if I go until 76, I will, I think, something like that. And I got to be honest with you, I've got friends of mine that are 75 and 76, and they can all sometimes run circles around me. So, if we stay healthy enough, you didn't retire until what age?
76.
So that's what I'm saying. You were kicking it until then. And so I like to work. And you do too. A lot of my
I'm busy all
friends,
the time. I don't slow up.
A lot of my retired friends, I'm saying, so you're really some of the busiest retired people I know. So I don't know. That's our plan, and we love it. So I'm glad to be back at school. I need the structure. It feels weird. And for people who, just like my husband, he drives a bus. It's extra for us. It's not that big of a deal. But for those who count on that income, they've lost 2 weeks. 2 weeks of pay.
Right.
That is significant. If that's your bread and butter and you've lost 2 weeks of pay, God bless you, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you may have people in your life that you need, and I tell people, pray that, the Lord shows you who needs help. And just show, say, God, just show me who I can bless, who needs something, maybe give $50 to. I don't know, something like that. Just people in your life. If you've been blessed and your income wasn't interrupted because you're a salaried employee and all those things, and you can just say, who do I need to bless, Lord? Who do I need to bless? And maybe you're walking through Walmart and you can just see the stress on a mom's face trying to buy groceries. Say, could you use some help? I don't know. That's just something I just think right now, because there's a lot of people. It's really this 2 weeks off was hard. So.
Well, I just feel like we were talking about earlier. I just feel like it's not going to be any more big deals like this year.
I hope not.
In this school year. So
I hope not.
That's just the history of weather. It's never been. Most things have happened around the 1st of February, and the really big things like this one. So we're probably just on the downhill.
I hope
weather.
so. I'm ready to slide right into spring, man. I'm ready to see my daffodils. and we've got mild temperatures this week. I mean, I've got on my light weather coat, then so because and it's going to be really cold at night. That's one thing Mark and I, when we get up to walk, we gauge it. If it's above 30, we'll go walk. But if it's below 30, we won't. But it's looking like we're going to get to walk every morning this week. So Bill Jones is here. This is History Monday. It takes me 10 minutes to say hello. That's just part of it. And hello. Schools are on a 2-hour delay, in case you missed me saying that. But Bill is here just to share all kinds of fun history. And this little gadget that he has here, my daddy had one of these. And
Really? You know what that is then?
I can't remember what it is, but I know he had one, and I'm not sure what happened to it. It may be in just his stuff, and I haven't gotten to it because I've got boxes and boxes of stuff from my parents' home. Mm-hmm. But I've seen this, and I know Daddy had one. But what is that? I can't remember.
That's called a clacker.
Oh. How funny.
That's the way it works.
And it's like, and this one is one of those.
Attract attention.
Well, see, it says, I root for what?
Chautauqua, and that's what we'll talk about. We'll talk about that today. Okay. But anyway, the fire department used to use those before they had radios. More than many people in town, they would take those and get attention that we have a fire.
Oof,
come to the fire.
That is so loud.
Really loud. Yeah, I got 2 of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig through Daddy's stuff and see if I can't find his, because I know he's got one. If he doesn't, I'm gonna have to acquire one of those for my collection, because I get this stuff for the kiddos. Yeah. And we talk about communication, and because I talk a lot about my farm bell, and that's how we would alert people. That there was an emergency.
Put yourself back. In the 1800s, they didn't have telephones, didn't have electricity, didn't have. How do you get attention? You got a farm bell. That's the main thing. And these things are used in the city. They would start doing that around the city, which everybody would say, "Oh, it's a fire! It's a fire!" Mm-hmm. The police used it, and then this Chautauqua, which we're going to talk about this morning, they used it to attract attention.
Okay. So where do you want to start then? Because I'm going to shut up and let you talk.
Well, we'll talk about Chautauqua.
Okay.
There was an event in the early 1900s here. It was in the summertime. It was called a Red Path Chautauqua, and what it was, they would come in on the train, this group of performers come in on the train, they'd bring a large tent. Now, the tent weighed a lot, maybe a ton. It was a big brown tent. And everybody knew when they saw the brown tent in town set up, it was a Chautauqua. It was a program. And they would have speakers on lectures. They would have opera, music, plays they would put on. It was all about education and education of local small communities, farmers and things like that, because the whole aim of the thing was to educate people with all the stuff they should know that the big city people didn't. And Chautauqua started out in New York, and the name Chautauqua is an Indian word which means 2 moccasins tied together. Now, I don't know how they came up with that, but it started in New York, the Chautauqua movement, and it started, people called, it was a man named Red Path, and he picked it up in this area, and he got the sort of like the organization where he could run it and sell tickets to it and all that. So they had probably 90 different Chautauquas all over the country, and they would go from town to town. And what they would do, they would have to have somebody in town to guarantee them so much money, or they couldn't come. And they would charge, this is around 1913 here, they would charge $2 a head. Now, that's a lot of money back then. That's like,
I was going to say, that's
I don't know what it's like. I think I wrote that down somewhere, but I don't remember what it was.
What was the year again? And I'll look it up.
Well, 1913 when it started here, but it was started around 1904. But they had, I think they charged $1.50 for children and $2 for an adult. And that's, I think it goes around about $45 now. I'm not sure, but that's a lot of money.
1918?
13.
1913. Let me see what it says here.
Anyway, they would come on the train. Of course, back then, nobody had automobiles much, so they came in by train, and they would stay. My wife asked me this. I didn't think about it until she asked me. She said, where did they stay, all these
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
And we had places all over town that people would rent their upstairs or little bedroom or something in their houses. And going out South Main, you can see houses, the older houses on South Main made of, you'll see them big block houses. They had stairways going up the side of the house into a door up in the second story of the house. And that's where they stayed. People would stay. Now going north, where Lisa Arnold lives, they had a place. They had a sign in the yard about travelers coming through because they came through on Main Street, came through town, and they rented rooms in that big house too. It's a big white two-story house.
Lisa she came in and bought that historic. I mean, it's a big
Yeah.
mansion.
Well, it was
Just-
some of
I
my
mean-
kinfolk that lived there years
Right.
ago, and I went in and showed her some of the wallpaper. It was still original and all that.
Okay.
But anyway, there were places around town that
Yeah.
they could rent, and that's what they did. They didn't have motels and restaurants and anything then, so their life was different, and we don't realize how different that is until we start thinking about it. But anyway, these people, and they were well-known people, some of them. I'm trying to sit here and think. Teddy Roosevelt was one of them, and he thought it was the greatest thing that America ever did was do this Chautauqua thing and education. And they would come, and they had, the reason the tickets were so expensive, they stayed for 7 days, and it wasn't the same program every day.
Okay.
It was different every day.
It was like a seminar or what they call.
Yeah, could be.
They do them in colleges now where you go and it's like a 7-day. I can't think of what they call it. We had them at Lipscomb, but it was like a study. I can't remember what they call them, but it's like different speakers every day and
Yeah,
things like
yeah,
that.
sort of like that.
Well, and I looked it up. It said $2 in 1913 would be about $65 today.
Yeah, so you can
yeah, it's a
imagine
lot of money.
paying $65 for a ticket.
Yeah.
It'd have to be real good.
Yeah.
But they attracted, there were thousands of people coming to it.
Wow.
So when they first came here, they had to have a sponsor, and that was the Springfield Music Club that sponsored it. Of course, they went way over. They needed about $45,000 to break even on that thing. So they went over that and made money. Music Club did. And then after that, some businessmen in town would get together and come up with a sponsorship because they knew, 1,000 people going to, they're going to have some business in town. They're
Yeah.
going to have a lot of trade. So they sponsored it for a long time. And it went on from 1904 when it first started on up till the Depression. And they had we had one, the last really good one here was September of 1929. Depression, hit in 29.
Yeah.
With the Wall Street collapse and all that. But after that, it went down here quick. And there were several things that caused it to go down. One of them was cars, the availability of cars. People had cars, and they could travel to Nashville or wherever. It took a long time to travel to Nashville, but they did. And they could do entertainment and things. And education got better. People back then, no one had an education much because it's just the schools weren't available very much. There were a few little schools out in the county. My grandmother had one called Woodard School, and she went on to college at Peabody in Nashville, and I guess I haven't read or found where anybody else any woman graduated from college, and she did in the late 1800s. But and she wanted to teach, and that's what she went for, training in that. But there wasn't a lot of good education back then.
Right.
And anyway, Chautauqua was the thing that people look forward to. And sometimes it would come twice a year because they had some in February. It just depends on what part of the country they were going. And they would travel from one town to another with their big tent and their people and all that.
And I guess they would have, if there was some kind of big development in science or something, they would have that.
Yeah, they
presented.
would have that.
Oh, that would be fascinating. Wouldn't you love
think
to?
it would be.
Wouldn't you wish we had video? Of course,
Well,
when back then they
They ought
didn't
to
have it.
they ought to make a movie of it. I
That
think
would be,
that'd be a
that
good
would be
subject.
a really good study. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Huh. Okay.
But anyway, there was a Lyceum Bureau in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, that started this thing, and they would get somebody to sponsor it, well, get somebody to handle it, which is like this Redpath guy. I was looking for his name, and I can't, James Redpath. And they started this type of thing in the late 1800s, and what they would do, they went to New York and studied religion. They would have a conclave, and they would gather together and study topics and just come up with, what's the difference, what's the same. And they did the same thing at Swanee, where I went to college. They had little gatherings of religious church people, mostly Episcopal, up there, and other things. They still do. They have a conclave up there where people gather, had picnics, they talked, they had famous people come in and talk to them. And when I was going to school there was several men, there were 4 or 5. One was a poet laureate for Tennessee. They would get together, and I would be able to go over to their house and listen to them, because we didn't have many students there. So we would, Sunday afternoons, we would go to professors' houses, but we would go to their house and listen to them discuss this stuff. And it was really interesting.
I'm sure.
But anyway, over in Monteagle, which was down the road from Swanee, they still have things there, gatherings. And they would come together and discuss topics that were mysteries at the time, I guess, or something that needed to be talked about, maybe about Bible things or politics or whatever. So there were places around the country that people did that. So that's where this Chautauqua started in New York doing it. They said, okay, let's take our thoughts out and the other towns and give people an education of what we're thinking about, what we know, what we don't know, type thing. And so they got into science, as you said, they got into religion, they got into music and the arts. They were really heavy in all the arts. Now we have a little place in town, that Musetta Swan. Yeah, Willow Oak. It's the same type thing, which they brought to the whole town. And now you can think about it, in the early 1900s, the town wasn't very big. It was maybe Garner Street, probably the west side of town. But I got to thinking, I said, one time I was studying this years ago when my dad was alive, and I said, where did they meet? Because he remembered them as a kid. He said, well, we're down on 7th Avenue, right behind the funeral home, where Dr. Stone used to have his office. There's a brick house there now, which was his office. And he said they met there. And then I found out later they met on Oak Street for many years after that, up into the 20s. And there was a vacant lot on Oak Street. As you're going north on Oak Street, you come to a hill, and on the left was a flower shop, McFarland's Flowers. Some of us remember that and some don't. But there was a big field in front of it, no houses on it. And that's where they would set their big tent up at, up until they quit doing it, and they'd come to town. So many of them, you think, well, how did they do this on a train? Looked like they'd get tired of driving, and they did, I'm sure. But after automobiles came along, they bought Chevrolet 6 is what they were called, 6-cylinder Chevrolets. They were luxury. Now, this is not, if you think of Chevrolet, you're thinking of something now. Well, back then, it was a buggy type thing, with a top on it. And they were luxury buggies. And they would drive around in those cars. And they would take their luggage and put them on the back of the car, big trunks. And then the tent was so big, they had to still keep the railroad to haul it for them. So they would come to Springfield, like on Tuesday, go down to the depot, get people to help around town, and then they would take that big tent off the railroad car, take it down to Oak Street, and set it up. And everybody, they didn't have movies, they didn't have television, they didn't even have telephones, hardly.
Yeah,
then.
It was entertainment.
I was thinking the other day, back early 1900s, anybody, just normal person, rarely didn't have a telephone back then. And today, a house phone that you plug in the wall. Today, they rarely have them.
Yeah, we've gone back to not having it.
Around, yeah.
Circle.
It's
That's
sort of funny.
a good point.
Also, I said one time, in the early 1900s, everybody had horses, but only a few wealthy people had cars. And now everybody has cars, but just a few wealthy people have horses.
Isn't that funny?
Sort of
Yeah.
funny how things have changed. But anyway, it was the Chautauqua, and that's an unusual name, but nobody now knows about it. I never hear anybody talking about it.
I've never heard of it.
But back then,
never heard of it.
It was everybody knew it. And of course, not everybody could buy a $65 ticket.
Yeah, $2 back then would be the
yeah.
equivalent of 65. But you know, this as you're talking about this, it reminds me of what we hear about the symposiums and the
Right, yeah.
agora and all of that from biblical, where Paul would go in
Yeah,
and gather
right.
the Greeks.
They've always done it
yeah.
in different ways.
Yeah, and so it almost seems like it kind of spun off of something that because so much of our country was inspired by early Greek and
Right,
Roman
right,
teaching.
right.
And so that too kind of has in it that same thing, because that's where they would come together and they would discuss.
Well,
Whenever Christ went
people were
into
hungry for the arts, knowledge, and they wanted to know. It just wasn't many people trained to teach them. So it was, it's the same thing going on today, except we do it on the internet.
Well, and it's almost kind of like, when did the World's Fairs start? Were they before
The World Fair?
The World's like a World Fair?
I don't
Because
know.
it's
I
kind
know
of-
how the fair started here.
But you know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing, because when you would go into a World's
Yeah,
Fair,
yeah.
you would get the same kind of thing that they would have at the Chautauqua. You would have the education, you would have innovative things. It's where they first introduced us to electric
Well,
lights up in Chicago.
A lot of the
Real
Chicago was aimed toward young people, children, and they would have children's plays or songs, religious songs.
Okay.
They did you name it, and they do it. Just whatever
Okay.
people needed.
Interesting. I've never heard of that, Bill. That's something brand new. I love it, boy. I learn something new from you all the time. That
Okay,
is
here's some famous people that travel with them.
Okay.
Clarence Darrow. He gave lectures. You remember Clarence Darrow over in East Tennessee when he talked about, what was it he talked about? Something famous.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
somebody will know.
That one, Clarence Darrow?
Yeah, Darrow.
That doesn't ring a bell
He was a
to me at all.
well-known attorney back then.
Clarence Darrow. Okay. I'll
Teddy
look.
Roosevelt was another one.
Wow.
Mark Twain traveled with him.
Oh, wow.
William Jennings Bryan, and he did adult education. That's what he was. That's what the whole thing was revolved
Scopes
around.
Monkey Trial.
Yeah.
Clarence
Scopes Monkey Trial.
Darrow.
That's what it was.
Whoa.
Over in Dayton, Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, he was the guy from the Scopes Monkey Trial. Oh my goodness! All right,
So it was about entertainment and culture, and they would mix it all together. It's a movement, Lyceum movement they called it, that started up in New York and went all. And I think it was probably one of the most valuable things that happened as far as educating people to different things. Because
Interesting.
around here, everybody was farmers.
Uh-huh.
They lived on the farm. Not many people lived in town.
That's
And-
interesting. Now your this little noisemaker?
Yeah, they would go around town with that advertising.
It says, "I root for Chautauqua. Chautauqua coming soon. All the good people go." That's what it
Yeah.
says. Does your other one does your other one have this Chautauqua on it?
Yeah.
Daddy had one of these that didn't have that. I don't remember. I mean, maybe it did, but I don't remember, because I would.
Well,
these weren't-
the fire department used them mostly.
Right. But they didn't all have Chautauqua on them.
No, they didn't have anything on it. In fact, it looked a little different, a little bit better
Yeah.
made than that.
I'm not sure I need to take something like this into the school, because this would be like.
Oh, they would hear it down the hall.
It would be very disruptive to
They
my
think it was
classroom.
gunshots.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to take that into school or not, but anyway, that's quite interesting. We're talking with Bill
Oh,
Jones.
I got more. I'll
This
write
is-
an article on it sometime.
This is History Monday, and Bill brought us something brand new today, talking about the Chautauqua. I had never heard of it. That is really
Red
interesting.
Path Chautauqua is what it was
Red
called.
Path Chautauqua.
There were other Chautauquas around.
You
but
know, I may
Red Path came out of Iowa down here. Their circuit was down in Tennessee and Kentucky and Indiana and all around there.
I'm gonna have my kids start looking into this, because this is something. Anytime I find something,
Take that in the
I can
classroom.
anytime I can tie something into the curriculum,
Yeah.
I love to do that. That's
That
just
was their
different.
form of communications.
Uh-huh.
See, what you're doing now is what they did in the
Yeah.
1900s, early 1900s.
Yeah, it's so
So
it
it-
changes. Well, I take my kids when I'm working on putting together a really structured section on the history of audio and video. Okay.
Yeah.
But I tell them, to really get to the full history of audio and video, you have to go back to the very
Go
early
back to this.
communications. Well, and even then, to cave paintings. The whole history of why we have what we have is because it's a desire for humans to communicate. And it goes, and so I told him, I said, we can go up here to Port Royal and look at the cave paintings. They've got like a cave with some cave paintings on it that are not as old as the prehistoric ones, but they're from Native Americans and stuff. And I told him, I said, I think we need to make that a spring field trip. You know,
think about this. The early county fairs they had. Now, ours was right after the Civil War. We had the first county fair.
Right.
There was no electricity, no mechanized farm machinery.
Right.
So they would have little rings, and they would show things they did with horse and wagons and horse and buggies and how they grew things. It was an educational thing. Yeah. So, and it grows into this, Chautauqua, which grows into what you're doing.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
It all changed together.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll tell you this, some people don't like this, but the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, started in the county fairs. They had one here, and they were good. They were good. They were doing good things. And then they got into some people got in that wanted to go against a certain.
And I've had people tell me that, and I have a hard time with it because of just having been, exposed to. I'm in a biracial family, so we had problems. I was afraid of the Klan from a very early on, but I just the idea. But I do know that at their founding, they were trying to make improvements, and then they got corrupted, and it became a very, very evil thing.
It's like a lot of things start out good and they turn bad.
Yeah. But anyway, it's one of those things. It's hard to hear. It's like,
people don't want to hear that they were a good organization to begin with.
Exactly.
But they tried to straighten out the community, and if a husband was beating his wife, they went and saw to it that he didn't do it anymore. That type of thing, and then it went. In another direction.
It went very, very dark. But we're talking about just history. I mean, and here's the thing, guys. Even when we say, well, I don't want to hear that, well, you need to. You need to know the truth of it. And that's the thing people don't realize is people are like, I don't like that. Well, you don't have to like it to just, it's just what is true. I'll tell you, I did something fascinating over. You need to have you played around with AI and Chat GPT and any of that?
Well, some.
I'm gonna tell you something.
That's a biggie coming down the road.
So I started to post this on my social media, but it's I'm not sure I want to because it's very I don't know, it's very personal for me. But I was talking with them at Faith Friday. And I had Aaliyah and I had Lisa in here, and we were talking about having a deeper devotional time. And they were kind of giving me their structure and how they do it and all this. And so, because I'm trying to expound on my devotional time with Scripture. And Aaliyah said, ask a question and then Google, okay, what are scriptures that help me answer this question? I thought, that's a great way. Well, rather than Googling,
I do that a lot.
Yeah, I go to ChatGPT instead of Google because in Google, it'll take me down these advertisements and all that. And I like Chat because it just gives me information. Well, I started that and it went, okay, here's the information, but now explain to me why you want to know this. And then I responded to that, and then it responded, and then I responded, and oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was like I was talking to a counselor or something. It was freaky.
I saw this woman on television, and she was a widow, and she was talking to somebody that was AI, and she got to be really personal friends with this AI person. That's what's happening, and they talk back to you. You don't know who you're talking to here.
No, but you're talking to an artificial. What I found interesting, and this is the reason why I almost posted this, is because the point I was making, it was only telling me what I already knew, and it was just giving me, and it said several times, it's things that I already knew, and truth. It was like at one point, I really started challenging it. Like, okay.
Oh, I did that. I did that.
And so, and at one point it was like, oh no, LaVern, that's not what this is. This is just truth. And I was like, no. It was weird. But anyway.
Sometimes it's wrong. And I say, this is, we have no, that didn't happen then. Oh, yes, it did.
Oh, how funny.
And I get caught up in it and I said, whoa, who am I talking to here?
But seriously, it is very strange. It is very strange.
And that's where we're heading in the near future, maybe before I pass away. that you don't know who you're talking to. You may be talking to somebody, you may not be, but you're having this conversation because it's a normal thing that you do.
You don't really know if you're having a real conversation unless you're looking them in the eye anymore, y'all.
Well, now they have videos that you look like it's a real person.
Well, but I'm saying like
doing all this stuff. Yeah,
I trust this conversation.
Yeah, right.
Because we're side by side. Yeah, I could actually.
But nowadays, we don't talk face to face much. It's all on the computer screen, and you don't know if that's real or not. They look just like you, and talk. You sound alike. They got that now.
It's so weird.
It's sort of strange.
Yeah. We've got to make sure. I mean,
but that's what we're going into.
Yeah, that's
from Chautauqua to audio video to this.
Yeah,
I don't know what you call it.
Be super careful and be prayerful about it, guys, because boy, it could go very, very
AI.
wrong
They'll come up with another name than AI, I think.
But anyway, let me go ahead and do a break here. We're talking to Bill Jones about all things history related. Chautauqua. Did I say it right?
Yeah, Chautauqua.
Chautauqua. Don't we have a school named Chautauqua?
No, that's up at Ridgetop. It's now you got me.
It's Watauga.
Watauga. It's another Indian word.
Watauga. Yeah, Chautauqua and Watauga.
Yeah.
I wonder what the closeness. I wonder if Watauga was a spinoff of Chautauqua.
I don't think so.
Or something. That's interesting. Because as soon as you said Chautauqua, I'm like, oh no, it's Watauga. Okay.
We had there were little meetings in Ridgetop too, like I was talking about at
kind of like the symposium that they would have.
Yeah, they had them in Ridgetop.
Yeah,
Ridgetop was a place that people came from Nashville in the wintertime to get cool because they were upper.
Or you mean the summertime to get cool?
Yeah, what did I say? Winter.
Yeah,
summertime to get cool.
But,
people come
because it was a little bit
vacation at Ridgetop.
Yep.
Back in the early days.
Interesting. This is fascinating. I love all this stuff, but we got to pause and take a break. Talking about all things history, and that's one thing. Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty, they love handling historic homes and businesses, and they've had a couple of businesses that they have facilitated the sale on that do have quite a history. I can't remember the name of there was a restaurant up in the Cross Plains area that they sold that had been around forever. And so those are the kinds of things that they love to handle. They will let you know about historic properties. If you mentioned Lisa Arnold, when I first met her, she came to this area because she wanted to buy a historic home. She was looking for a historic home to purchase. And so a lot of people, that's on their, I want a historic home. Well, if that's the case, you can reach out to Barry and Rebecca and say, hey, I'm looking for something that's got some life to it, and something that you want to restore, or maybe you just want something that's got a story behind it, and they can help you find that, and they'll certainly stay on it to where you will know if something hits the market. Barry and Rebecca Richards, they're with Exit Prime Realty. They have been with the Exit team from the very get-go, from the very moment that they started in real estate. Rebecca got the whole thing started when her kids got to school. She was going to get back into the workforce, but she didn't want to go back into radiology. That's what she'd been doing. She wanted to do something different, and she'd been interested in real estate. She vetted the companies to say which one's going to have everything I need, and Exit fit that bill. And to prove it, they're still with Exit. They're just now, instead of being the Garden Gate team, they have their own team, Exit Prime Realty. Barry is the broker up here in Springfield. Rebecca has an agency office out in White House, and they combine those two offices to bring you Exit Prime Realty. They'd love to have you working with them. If you want to be a realtor, come and talk to them. Barry will tell you it's not for everybody, and he might talk you out of it, but he's going to be super honest with you. He's going to just give you truth about it. He's not going to candy coat it. He's going to say, this is what it's like, and they just happen to be really good at it. So if you want to learn from two of the best, you can learn from Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. If you want to buy something, first thing they're going to do is say, let's see what you qualify for. Don't even look until you know how much home you can afford to buy. And it might be that you want to buy something up in Kentucky because you can get a little bit more bang for your buck across the state line, but you also have to have a broker that can broker the deal in Kentucky. And Rebecca's broker, it's not her husband, Barry, it's the broker up in White House, and they are still able to broker deals in Kentucky. Not everybody can because the laws have changed in Kentucky, so you need to know about that. And if you're selling your property, how much is it worth? You need to get a free market analysis so you know what the expectations are. If you put your property on the market what you're wanting. Is it realistic? They can answer all those questions. You can give them a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 or 7424. Or you can go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy BUYRobertsonCounty.com and just Google them. You'll find out all kinds of stuff about them. You could chat GPT them and find out all the truth and facts about them, and you're going to be impressed. Check them out today and let them know that U-Turn sent you. Okay, Bill, that's the only ad we got to do today.
Okay, I want to make one comment. I write historical articles for the Robertson County Connection. I would encourage everyone to subscribe to that.
Yes.
I have to pay for my subscription even though I write for them. So if you really want to know, and I've got a lot of information I put in there every week. It may be history one week, it may be about Bible or something next week, but it's generally history. And I have, in fact, I got to keep a card here of each week what my topic is. I've already written them up into March.
Oh, that's great.
But anyway, I just finished the last 2 weeks about nicknames or names of areas of Springfield.
Okay.
And I misspelled Rose Hill area. I put Ross Hill. Mm-hmm. I can't go back and change it. It's already printed, y'all. But anyway, if you want to, it doesn't cost you anything except a subscription. I think it's $35 a year or something like that. I'll tell you, it's interesting, and I spend a lot of time coming up with them. But there's a lot of stuff in there I'm sure you know or you won't know.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of interesting things happen in Springfield.
How many of those have you done so far? Do you know?
Well, back in the early 2000s, I wrote for a few years, and that's 2005 or 6 or something around there.
Do you have all these archived? I mean, do you?
Yeah, I got it all more. I got file cabinets, a computer.
That's a book right there.
I know. Yeah. I doubt if I ever write a book, but
you've already written one.
Yeah,
you just got to put them together.
Yeah.
You've already written one.
I have written one book I'm very proud of, and it's about how to study the Bible.
Yes, it's wonderful.
And I spent a lot of time putting it together, and I like it. I wrote another book about Revelations I don't like because it's too complicated and it goes a different direction than you normally heard. So wasted money on that one. I got boxes of them.
Well, but I'll tell you, this idea, you taking these and just putting all these articles together in a publication, I think would be something the historical museum would be interested in big.
I don't think I have time for it, but somebody else might. So whatever. I was talking to Bo Adams a couple of days ago, and he's taken and he's got a lot of stuff, historical, and he's given them all to the museum. So I said, Bo, where are they going to put all this stuff? And he says, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, warehouses.
They're tickled to get it, though. I've talked to Danny about it, and he was thrilled. When he said we've got the Bo Adams collection, I was a little afraid something had happened to Bo because I didn't realize, but he was like, no, he's just trying to clear out some clutter.
Yeah.
Because he would go, if you don't know Bo, he's just a trip. He's a lot of fun, just a really great guy. And he takes a lot of pictures, goes to a lot of estate sales and things like that, and that's where he acquires some of this stuff. And
I got an item one time he wanted, he didn't have. He wore me out.
Oh, really?
I said, here, take it. You pay me what I paid for it.
Oh, how funny! How funny!
I never told him anything after that. You know what
That's
I asked?
hysterical. That's hysterical.
But Bo has got some
collector.
one-of-a-kind things. He's got something that nobody else has.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Yeah, that's just it. I've been trying to get Danny actually in here, and he's been busy. They've been doing
he had a heart operation.
I didn't know. See, he didn't tell me that.
Yeah, back a month ago or something like that, I think.
Danny? I don't get these details. I had no idea. But I mean, I didn't see anything on social media about that. But I hope you're doing well, brother. I didn't know. I did not know. But I've reached out to him a couple of times, and so he's texting me back and everything. Yeah. So, but I'll reach back out to him because they had some stuff going on at the museum because it was used to they were doing
a movie.
They're making a movie. Yeah, and I don't know much about it other than that, but
I don't either.
I think it's cool that they use our town for movies, but I know it's an inconvenience for some people, but I think it's cool. I love it. So what else are we going to talk about? We've got about 15 minutes.
If you go to the museum,
go to school.
I have people contact me all the time. Would you find out something about so and so? I said, I used to do that. It just keeps me constantly researching, looking for something for you when you can go do it yourself.
There you go.
So
Yeah, that's a
I
conversation.
don't mind helping somebody if I know it right off the top of my head like this, but some of the other stuff, I was looking and I constantly see things and I want to find out about it. And now here's one of them, the word brownie. Ran across a old photo of 4 boys
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
sitting on a log or a bench or something, and it had brownies on the bottom of the picture. And I started looking up brownies. I was reading old newspapers, and there's a lot of things called brownies, and I don't know what it refers to.
Well, brownies. When you first said brownie, you mentioned photography. There was a brownie camera. There was a
Well,
camera
that came
called a
from
brownie.
something else, yeah.
Yeah, but when you say brownies, that was like very much like the Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts
that-
and the brownies were.
1927,
Yeah.
Girl Scout brownies.
Yeah.
But where did that come from?
I don't know.
Well,
I remember
that's what I found out.
Okay, well, talk to me. Let's get it.
It was originally a folklore spirit, and it came
That's
from
creepy.
It came from Scotland and British
Really?
folklore, and what they were little people that were brown, and they would like little fairies. They'd come out at night on farm. They were talking about farms. Come out
Okay.
at night. They'd do little chores for the farmers at night,
how
and they would
fun.
leave out a little cookie or a drink or something for them on the fireplace, because that's when they were out at night doing their little things. So
Oh, how fun.
there was a man, and I don't remember his name now. This author Palmer Cox is who. He came up with the idea of a younger group of Girl Scouts, like 7 or 8 years old, and they said, "Well, what will we call them?" We call them Rosebuds at first, and then they changed the name to Brownies, because Brownies were little people who did good
Did good
things.
things. I had no
for
idea
people on
that's
the
where the
farm.
brownies came from.
So then I got to looking. Well, there was basketball, football, all kinds of teams they called Brownies too. Like St. Louis Browns was a football team. They called it Brownies. It wasn't a derogatory thing. That's just their nickname. So there was a lot of nicknames of Brownies. So I still have no idea why these 4. They looked like they were upper teens or maybe low 20s-year-olds sitting on this bench with looked like a basketball, but I'm not sure that's what it is, and I can't read what is written on the basketball, but it says Brownies on the bottom. I can see that, so I can just imagine maybe what it means. Maybe they were helpers on the farm,
Yeah.
but Brownies were indicated as somebody who helped people. It was a good thing, and that's interesting. I still
It's very
going to do some
interesting.
research on it, but if you want to do research, AI, helps a lot, but you got to realize it may give you false information. And
And it might
two,
creep you
there are
out a little bit too.
2 places in town to go to if you want to know local stuff, and that's the Robertson County Archives and the museum. And the museum only open 3 days a week, I think, or something like that. They're not open on Monday and Tuesday. But anyway, if you want, and then I tell you what, they've got so much stuff at the museum, I don't see how they keep up with it. But they have everything on the computer, and you go, well, I want to find something about brownies. I hadn't done this. They would go look on the computer. Say, well, we don't know. But it may be there with something else, but they just hadn't categorized it as brownies, So then you go to old newspapers, and you can go to the library or archives and get on their, what do they call the screen that have the newspapers on
They
digital.
film
It's a film, microfilm.
microfilm. Yeah, I
And
couldn't get the word out.
it's at
Microfilm.
and
Yeah.
then they have all the microfilm rolls, and you can spend days
Oh, yeah.
looking at rolls. And a lot of times, when it takes a long time doing that, but if you know, like Chautauqua, if you know what was here in 1913, you can go to the library or those films, but they don't have any newspapers early. They have them starting around 1927 or something like that on up. And so I talked to the people who make those microfilms and who put it on, it's called newspapers.com. It's on the internet. They have every newspaper in the United States and then some. And you can do a search, put in a word Chautauqua, and it'll come up with it, But the thing is,
Whoops, sorry.
We don't have it locally, but I talked to newspapers.com. I said, you really need to get our old newspapers. We're a history county. You would probably make money selling subscriptions, which it's sort of expensive. Well, I've had a subscription to it for years. And I talked to the owner there and all that. He said, well, can you find out the owners of the newspapers, if there's anybody still around that own them? I did that legwork for them. And I thought, they're going to make a lot of money on the stuff I give them.
Yeah.
So I talked to them at the archives. I told them what I was doing. I said, they will call you, newspapers.com guy, and I gave them the name, and I've been emailing back and forth. So I hope that works out. If it does,
that'd be cool.
They don't have to have that microfilm because all the state microfilms and everybody will be on newspapers.com. So that's something coming up that I think will be very, very interesting to people, because you can look on there and find anything. Just say word what, something, you just search anything on there. You maybe have to put in the year between 1950 and 1970 or something like that. But they have some older papers in the 1800s from around here, Nashville, big cities and all like that. I was looking at one the other day at 1812, I think, 13, or maybe 09. And one of my great-great-great-grandfathers was Thomas Johnson. And he laid out the town of Springfield. He was a surveyor. And he was on their city council type thing, whatever they had, putting out bids for a jail. And he said, GAOL. And I thought, what are they building? A log cabin, log gall or something? I didn't know what he was. I said, what in the world is he building in the middle of town? And that's the way they pronounced jail. And they spelled it back then. So that's interesting to me. You go back and read the old stuff, and they have all the Scottish, Irish accents and the way they spell things. And I thought, that would be interesting. If he came back today and talking, we might not could understand him.
Well, that is true. And I mean, I hadn't even thought about that. I have a student that's got their name is the way it's written is not how you would pronounce it, but it's like the Gaelic version of the name. And I have such a hard time with it. But I just jail is GAOL. Yeah. And that's an old traditional. Isn't that interesting? You would look at that and go, what
so when
in
you
the world is
read
that?
this stuff, in fact, when Yolanda Reed was there at the archives, she was really good in reading old deeds and things, because they're hard to read. If you're not used to looking at that type of words and things and writing, it's very difficult. And Yolanda did it so much, she was used to it, can, rattle it right off. Yeah. And I will look at it for some time. Maybe I'm researching. I get okay where I can read it okay, and then I get away from it. I can't have to take me a while to get back into it.
Interesting. Well, it's a lot of the biblical study we do, and we'll go across a word, and then we'll realize that we're not saying it right at all. Right. And that it doesn't mean what we thought it meant, and all these kinds of things. And
I got in trouble.
There's stuff that we get into all the time. I got in trouble one time
teaching a class at church, and I used the word Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, I'm just telling them how it was used. The Jewish people use that word. Oh, I got in big trouble. We don't. The Jehovah's Witnesses use that word. I said, well, I don't know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses.
I can't believe
I have to pull back a lot of times, because people get, especially about Bible things, they get real different about it. So anyway, it's sort of like, I wish we had more Chautauqua type things here.
Yes.
So we could be more educated in things.
Well, and we don't have any excuse to not be educated now, because we have access to everything. We just have to educate ourselves. But we have to do it critically. That's something. I was reading something, I think it may Omar Hamada. I don't know if you know him. I have him on from time to time.
He told me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. But he was talking about being disgusted with the lack of critical thinking. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I think we struggle with in anything in regards to education, is we're not teaching students to think critically.
That is so important.
You've got to be able to, we shouldn't just be telling them, think this. It's like, here are the facts, Now, how do you understand it and how do you interpret it? And it's and then if they get off, if they get off kilter, and we don't have to agree on everything, y'all. I mean, that's just Anyway, critical thinking. It is a lost art.
That's very,
It's a
very
lost art.
important.
Lost
And
art.
then people label people who do critical thinking as
Troublemakers.
out there, and just,
You're a troublemaker.
yeah.
You're a troublemaker.
So,
But anyway.
anyway,
All right, Bill. We got a few minutes left here. Where do you want to wrap it up?
well, let's see. Let me, one thing, I brought a book in here.
Oh, before we do that, the Tennessee Firearms Association monthly potluck is tonight at the American Legion, and you can bring food or not, but come and eat. They will open the doors at 5:40, have fellowship and potluck beginning at 6, and it's at the American Legion Post 45 in Greenbrier. And I know you go from time to time. It's a good bunch of folks.
I'll probably go tonight.
There you go.
One last thing, and it's really, I can't cover it in 5 minutes, but I brought a book, and this book is my personal book that the author gave to me.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's about a man. There's also, this book's in the library if you want to
Okay.
go. But he is they consider him the father of the cell phone.
Oh, wow.
He was here in Springfield.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah,
guy.
and
Yep.
ever so often I talk about him because I think he's a very interesting guy.
Right.
But
That's cool.
his name is David Edward Hughes.
Mm-hmm.
He came here from England, came to the United States. He and his family and his sister all taught music, and they were very scientific type people also. But back then, horse and buggy type, and I'm talking about in the 1800s, late 1800s. Mm-hmm. He came to Springfield as a music teacher. He had a little apartment in a hotel on the south side of the square, which burned years ago and is not there anymore. But during his off time for teaching music at the school, he was inventing something called a printing teletype. Now, we already had telegraph. Morse invented that, but this was printing out what was sent across in Morse code on wires. And he would stay up late at night building his little thing. He would go over to the watch repair guy that was living here then and get little intricate wires and things from him, and he's built. Well, people here didn't understand what he was doing, and he was a very educated man, and so he was sort of, people think people are strange if they know a lot about
A little
something.
eccentric.
So they would see his light, a candle burning late at night upstairs from the street, and I thought, what is he doing? They got all these rumors out that he was, going to do something sinister. So all the time he was going to People's Tucker School and teaching music. And he got involved with a lady here, and they got to be real good friends, and actually more than that. And they were very close. Well, the girl's parents didn't like it because he was a teacher, didn't have any money, and he didn't have anything hardly, but he was doing all this stuff. So the parents made the girl break it off. And make a long story short, which I got a long story on this, she became a telephone operator in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And he went on and got his machine patented, and that's a picture. Well, there's a picture of him in here of the one right there, he made in Springfield, and he got a patent on it, and he ended up selling it to AT&T, and a lot of people in Europe. He made a ton of money, and he gave it all away.
Wow.
But there's a long, like to say, I don't have it just a minute.
Yeah.
But if you want, it's called Before Wireless.
Yeah, I'll take a picture.
And it's
of that.
in the library.
I'll get us a copy of it at the school
And,
too, because I have money I can spend.
What happened? I wrote an article.
Copy.
I wrote an article about it back in the early 2000s, and the guy who was his grandson read it online. I don't know how he found that. So he came down here and visited me, and we talked, and I told him all about what he did and all the details where I got the information. He put it in the book.
So
my name's in that book.
The grandson wrote the book.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, and he took my
a
story.
copy of it.
He took
That's
my
really
story and put it in there.
That's
So,
really cool.
Most people don't know him. Don't know.
Oh
but
no, he's
he
not
invented
part of the curriculum for history.
He invented the carbon microphone.
Really?
Really. Also, the device, I can't remember the name of it, they used in metal detectors. He invented that. He was able to transmit a radio signal 500 yards, and that was the first. That did.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he had.
Wow.
But anyway, very interesting guy. Springfield connected.
Well, definitely one of the fathers of wireless communication. I mean, there's so
Right.
many. There's the ones that get the credit for it and the ones that did the work.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
There's the ones that
Edison
did the work.
didn't invent all
I
this
know.
stuff.
I was thinking about Edison. He was called a patent. He was called a patent troll.
Right.
He would go in and he would employ people like this and then steal their ideas and patent it. And he had all these patents, and we got, he gets all the credit.
Yeah.
And he was not a good guy.
Well, he probably
Not a
never
good
figured
guy.
that we'd all figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. No. History does not
Anyway,
remember.
time's
Edison
over.
well. I know.
I
This
could
is
talk
so
about that
interesting.
another
Okay,
time.
I got to get this book for my classroom, and then you can come and
Before
talk
we went
about it.
wireless.
Cool. Very good. I mean, this
David
is all
David
so much fun. We have so much fun here. This is why I will.
That's Springfield. I mean, right in
No,
Springfield he
it's
did
so
this.
cool. It's so neat.
And the patent he applied for, I looked
Yeah.
at that.
And boy, I bet that girl that was operator was like, boy, I wish I'd hung on to him.
Yeah.
Mom and Daddy, you're
She
wrong.
turned out to be, she married a guy and he died. And she turned
Yeah.
out to be nothing. And
Bless.
he blossomed all over Europe.
See,
They
you
gave
got,
him all
you gotta
kinds of
leave
awards.
people alone.
Yeah.
Let the Lord do what the Lord will
Love
do.
story there was
Anyway.
interesting.
All right. It's been fun, Bill. Thank you so much. This was great. Tomorrow we'll be back with another wonderful interview, and it should be Dr. Danny Weeks if I've got my schedule right in my head. But we're supposed to have a school board meeting tonight, and so Dr. Weeks will come in and talk to us tomorrow, and we'll be talking about the fact that we're 2 days over our allotted snow days and what's going to happen with that. So we have 10 days. We've used 12. We used 10 just in the last 2 weeks. That's crazy. But we'd used 2 for the special election back in the fall. So what were we going to do? Well, we'll talk to Dr. Weeks about that and all the other things to do with our schools. Let's get back to it. We're on a 2-hour delay today, but we appreciate y'all being here. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless you. Have a great day. Spring's coming, y'all. We're getting close.